is here to see me or to hear me. I know that to be true. Unlike the situation in Greensboro today, where our First Lady is speaking at North Carolina A&T, it's extremely rare for anybody to ever go to a graduation to hear you speaking. You know, it's one of those things. I bet there are going to be people over at A&T, and that ceremony started about the same time as this one, that are there, they received an invitation, and they're there even though they don't even like the graduate. They're just there to see the First Lady and to hope for a photo op. You see, the typical role for a graduation speaker is like the role that cranberry sauce plays in a Thanksgiving dinner. It's a necessary part of the traditional meal, but nobody comes to dinner for the cranberry sauce. The advice that I've gotten, and I hope to stay within the confines of that advice, is to first of all, keep it short. Because they didn't come. I know you all didn't come to hear me. But besides that, to the graduates, and perhaps to some others, I hope to just plant a few seeds and to share a few words that at some point in time, when you're not doing anything, it may just come back to you. As Dean Pierce mentioned, I was here not very long ago, and when I came to give the speech, I had to stop by North Carolina Central. And we reached out to Professor Craig Kabachik, Prof. K, and I was able to experience one of the great features of this law school, your video technology, your video conference technology. And I spoke to members of the Vet Law Clinic. And if I could just take a point of personal privilege, could I just please have the students that are involved in the Veterans Law Clinic under Professor Kabachik to please stand. Thank you very, very much for your service and for your willingness to help veterans, helping those who've served us. My role today, first of all, I want to place things in context. If you don't remember anything else, remember this and know this. You are blessed. You are richly blessed. Regardless of whether you've landed a job in the legal profession, never lose sight of the fact that you are blessed. You've come here, you've worked hard, and you've persevered. But you, as has been pointed out by others, you haven't done it alone. Your professors and your study partners have challenged you and made deposits into you. Your families have sacrificed for you and put up with you. Regardless of your individual story, you've been given a lot. Keep in mind, I want to encourage you to always keep in mind what the New Testament book of Luke says. To those to whom much has been given, much is required. You stand poised to enter a profession with a unique place in American society. Lawyers are leaders and are expected to lead. I first saw this myself when I was only about 8 years old back in the late 1960s. When at the age of 8, again, my parents took my brother and I on a family vacation up the eastern seaboard. We made stops along the way in Williamsburg and in Washington, D.C. And I was able to see that lawyers have played a critical role in the founding of this nation. Consider this, for instance. 25 of the 56 signers of the Declaration of Independence were lawyers. 31 of the 55 members of the first Constitutional Convention were lawyers. I don't know what this says, considering the current state of affairs in Washington, D.C., but there are more senators and members of the House of Representatives who've been loyal than from any other profession. In fact, there have been more presidents of these United States who've been lawyers than any other profession. And the civil rights movement of this nation would not have landed the successes that it had without the lawyers like Charles Hamilton Houston, Thurgood Marshall, and countless others. Understand that you're leaving law school at a time when lawyers are needed more than ever before. You see, there are institutions that still need to be built, organizations that need to be effectively led, and most importantly, people still desperately need representation. But you see, there's a great irony right now. The recession has hit the legal profession perhaps harder than any other. You know this. You have some of the largest firms in this nation who for the first time have cut back. But at the same time that is happening, we face a situation where there is a great gap with respect to the provision of legal services. People are suffering from a lack of legal representation. More people are going pro se without a lawyer than ever before. In my area, with respect to veterans, we've done surveys of homeless veterans. And I want to just say that our number one priority with respect to the Department of Veterans Affairs is ending a situation which is absolutely unacceptable. And that is having those who have served us, who are living on the streets of this nation. So ending homelessness among veterans is priority number one at the Department of Veterans Affairs. We've discovered that 3 of the top 10 unmet needs of veterans are legal needs. They include child support issues, unpaid fines and outstanding warrants, and problems with suspended driver's licenses. One problem leads to another, and leads to another, to the point that the person is homeless. Earlier this week, I attended a meeting in Washington chaired by the Attorney General. And that meeting dealt with people who are incarcerated returning to society. What we found is that the greatest predictor of homelessness is incarceration. And so if the civil legal needs are not met, that can often lead to criminal issues. You are needed more than ever before. But to fill the gap in legal services, you're going to have to be creative. And just like you've been in law school, you're going to have to be persistent. Never give up, never lose hope. We need new answers, and we need new strategies. There's a quote that's attributed to Albert Einstein that says essentially that we cannot solve level 1 problems with level 1 solutions. We need level 2 solutions for level 1 problems. We need you, we need your creativity. In thinking about today, I was reminded of something that the Old Testament prophet Micah said. And in the book by his name, he asked and answered a question. The question that he asked was, what does the Lord require of you? And the answer that he provided was to do justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God. I looked at a variety of translations and they all agree to do justly basically just means to do the right thing, to treat others well. To love mercy means to be kind and compassionate. But that last phrase, to walk humbly with your God, what does that really mean? I like what Eugene Peterson says in The Message. He says, don't take yourself too seriously. Take God seriously. In other words, don't believe your own hype. Don't believe that you have all the answers. You can ask another question today. What does society require of you? And by society, I include your family members, I include your friends, and I even include you. What does society require of you? And I believe that first of all, speaking as a parent, your parents want you to be able to support yourself. I say that because next week this time I'm scheduled to be in a graduation ceremony with my child who has taken the long route toward graduation as an undergraduate. I look forward to that day when he's no longer on my payroll. But beyond that, you're all going to get jobs. You're all going to be able to fulfill your aspirations. Receive that, believe that. But they also want you to be able to live values-based lives. Values-based lives. In other words, they want you to live lives of value. Let me just share a quick story. I was sharing with the chair of the Alumni Association, and he was talking about the fact that he looked forward to the fact that he never has to take another bar exam. I know that many of you are going to be sitting for a bar exam in just a few weeks. Well, I could identify with the chairman or the president of the alumni group because that's what I said a few years ago. But then in 2008, I had a career shift. For the first time, I had a break, and so I had to contemplate what I was going to do next. And it came to me that I should open my own law firm, my own law practice. And I was living in Virginia, having been a Florida lawyer, and Florida doesn't give reciprocity, and Virginia doesn't offer reciprocity to Florida lawyers. And so I started off by opening a law practice based on a federal model, where I didn't have to become a member of that state's bar. But then something happened one morning. I was in the midst of some quiet time. I was praying and I was meditating. And it came to me, join the Virginia bar. Folks, I'd already studied the website. I knew that I couldn't become a Virginia lawyer unless I took the bar exam. So you know what I did? I went back to the website. I wanted to make sure that the rules hadn't changed. And I wanted to find out if perhaps there was some other way. I found out that there was no other way. And so I sat for the Virginia bar exam. Eventually, I signed up, but then things came up and I had to delay my taking the bar exam. I was already in this job when I received a notice from the state of Virginia that said that if I didn't take the bar exam by that coming July, that I was going to forfeit my money. I don't like to forfeit my money. So I started to make preparations to take the bar exam. This is what I did. I made a schedule for myself. I went back to the basics. I like what Mario Puzo said in his great work, The Godfather. You see, when the crime families came under pressure and they were at war with one another, they went to the mattresses. Going to the mattresses meaning that they rented out warehouse space. They furnished them just with mattresses alone. They went back to the basics. That's what I did. I made my schedule, but I started each day in prayer. I followed that with time working out. I tracked how much sleep I was getting, and I studied. Yes, you do need to study. But the idea and the point was that it was all about the balance. I couldn't just do one thing. I want to encourage you all as you go off to take the bar exam that you live a a balanced life, and that you also be about values. At the Department of Veterans Affairs, we've adopted what we call I CARE values. The I CARE values stand for be about integrity, be committed, be an advocate, respect everybody, and be about excellence. Consider, regardless of where you go, your name goes with you. They're going to remember what you say and what you do. So be about integrity. Your clients need committed lawyers. They need advocates. Respect everybody because you just don't know. Remember I told you that the first lady is speaking at A&T? Well, the first lady was a first-year student when I was a third-year student. Who would have known? Respect everybody. And finally, be about excellence. What this school has modeled, what you've modeled for one another, be about excellence. I know my time has come to an end. I can see people start getting restless and people anxious to start running to the top, to the front to take their photo. So I will sit down, but as I do, I just want you to remember one thing if you don't remember anything else. Remember Micah's question. And what does the Lord require of you? But to do justice, and to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God.